Hi, my name's Tom Beyer. I've been an actor for over 20 years, all over the country in theaters like the Mark Taper Forum, the Seattle Rep, Missouri Rep, Michigan Public Theater, the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, and I've won awards for my acting. I've won awards for directing, and for the past 12 years I've also been doing a lot of camera work on network television shows and occasionally film and commercial. I've been living in LA for the last 12 years. So I'm no schlub! The definition of Jim Lapan is consummate theater artist. You can work with him in any capacity. I've acted with him, I've been directed by him, I've produced shows for him that he directed. Jim brings to every project and every situation an automatic quality of unique artistry. When he enters a project, he wants to do the most unique thing because that's what's most exciting to him. He's allergic to superficial work. He has no interest because this is not as engaging and fun for him. And when he's acting with people, that quality affects other people too, and suddenly you see an entire ensemble of people wanting to bring their most unique and exciting work and choices. As a director, he has such a nurturing way of inviting people towards that same level of uniqueness and depth. When I first arrived in Seattle, I came from an undergrad program, and Jim had just graduated with his MFA. And he's a perfect example of somebody who took all of this really wonderful training and immediately started putting it into his craftsmanship as an artist. He never had that time period a lot of students have after college where they're extremely technical for a couple of years until it finally drops down into their body and they can do artistic work. No, Jim immediately took the value of his training and put it directly into the work he was doing with this sense of excitement and joy. I feel a little bit guilty because I got a lot of MFA style training through osmosis from Jim. I really should have been paying some of his student loans off. And that's partially because his nature is to generously give what he's learned or to generously share what excites him. So he would say, "Hey Tommy, I think you'd really get a kick out of this." And suddenly I'd be learning Feldenkrais technique from him. Or he'd be teaching me, how to break down a Shakespearean text, or showing me how to use my voice in a different way. And the effect that had on my work to this day is phenomenal. One of my greatest regrets about leaving Seattle is, getting emotional, was leaving my collaboration with Jim behind. He is such a nurturing influence and such a unique artist that no matter what situation you're in, you know that your best work will come out. You know that he will do the most unique work possible. That's rough to leave behind. And even if I haven't seen Jim for 3 years, I walk in a room and I would trust him with my life. There's something so deep and nurturing about Jim as a person and as an artist. That is really rare. And after working in theater and film and television for over 20 years, Jim still reigns as one of the most significant and deep and rich influences that I've ever come across with a collaborator. I always want to see Jim doing as much work as possible. I want his artistry to show up in as often as possible. But in the back of my mind, I've always thought, God, that sensibility of his, that nurturing artistry, that consummate craftsmanship would be so valuable to students. One of the landmark creations in my early life as an artist was working on a project with Jim and another performer, and the three of us took a short story by Frank O'Connor for the Book It Repertory Theater. And together, the three of us adapted the piece, played all the parts in the piece, cast each other in it, directed each other, and created what became one of the masterpieces of Book It Repertory Theater. I think 20 years later, I think they're still touring it in their outreach program, probably with the third generation of actors in it, because it became one of the most favored pieces that Book It has ever done. And what I learned from working on this Book It piece with Jim was this amazing sense of collaboration. Me and the third person would have a very frenetic sense of creativity. We would spark and we would have discord and we would argue, and Jim has this amazing ability to listen, and he would hear our arguments and he would see the gold in both of those arguments, and then he would conclude the argument with the solution. Why don't we do this? And the two of us, it would happen so many times, the two of us would be like, yeah, Jim, like, you know, angels singing in the background. Like, he would, and this is a mark of his work, no matter where he is, that he can take other people's creativity and then transform it into something greater than it would have been if it was just one person thinking about it. And a major influence on my life.